Wow. The more you know, I mean,
Yeah.
really. Trying to figure out emojis on here. Wow.
All right, so Mariah's going to hopefully watch the chat for me, and she's also supposed to smack me if I start going over my time.
Yes.
I believe we're supposed to keep it to about an hour.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you see like a
Yeah.
that's what that is. Mhm.
All right, well, I'll go ahead and lead us in prayer, and then I'll get started on this. Father God, thank you for bringing everybody together here in this online community and letting us get together and talk about how you've designed your word. And please help us to take the lessons we learned today and apply it in our lives, both when we start gaming and when we read our Bible on our own. Amen. All right, so to start us off, who are all here has not played Mario Brothers 1-1? Besides my wife.
Yeah. Anybody? Okay. Probably but me has probably played it.
Probably. All right. Well, as far as iconic video games go, it's one of the most iconic. Switch my slide here. All right. So, what the goal for this series is, we're going to look at popular game design concepts and ideas, and we're going to see how video games use design to lead you to feel certain emotions or to play a certain way, and we're going to take those ideas and apply it to how we read our Bible. So everything in the Bible is very deliberate, and if a famous saying I heard once, that if you see something weird in the Bible, it's probably very important. Quick question: can you guys hear all those beeps and boops in the background?
There's just people joining. Oh, sure. Join notifications.
Okay,
Yeah. Okay. Morning.
morning. Okay, all right. So good game design doesn't happen by accident. All the best games that we've ever played were very purposeful, and every single block and enemy has been placed in a certain way to get you to enjoy the game a certain way. And so the Bible is the same way. So when it comes to iconic video games, I thought we could start with Super Mario Brothers 1-1 because it's one of the most iconic video games ever. It came out on the Nintendo system. I don't remember the year on top of my head, but it had two primary goals. It had to teach people Mario, of course, because it was a launch title for the Nintendo, but it also had to teach many people how to play video games for the first time. And in our culture, a lot of us have grown up with video games as kids, so we kind of understand the game design language, even though we haven't been explicitly taught it. And games like Mario Brothers is a good example of how we've learned this. So let's see. So, like the best design games, the Bible teaches its world, lore, and gameplay through mechanics that are built into the text. Good games and good stories are both well designed, and learning to recognize intentional design in our games can help us spot God's intentional design in Scripture. So we can approach scripture with this game designer mindset. I'm not trying to make an analogy that the Bible's like a game or that we win it by reading chapters. I'm just trying to show us that game levels are carefully constructed, and so are the chapters of scripture. So Genesis 1 is going to serve a similar function to what Mario Brothers did. It's our introduction to God's Word. We're teaching people how to read the Bible for the first time. We're going to start setting up themes, patterns, and concepts that's going to be used throughout Scripture. Mario Brothers is going to do the same thing for us, and we're going to take a look about how it does that. So Genesis is going to set the patterns and structures that we'll see again and again. And we want to start asking questions when we read the Bible, just kind of like how we ask questions when we look at good game design. So what's the author trying to tell me? Why is it ordered this way? And what patterns am I meant to notice? All right, so without really thinking of it, most people can probably remember what Super Mario Brothers 1-1 looks like. You probably know exactly where to jump, where the mushrooms are, and where that giant pitfall. Even if you haven't played the game in over a decade, once you see it again, you'll probably remember it. And a lot of that memory, has mostly to do with how the game is designed. It's a masterclass in level design. So I'm going to show you some examples. But before we start, does anybody remember anything from the creation account that just wanted right off the top of their head without looking it up? Heavens and Earth were separated. Yep. In the beginning, one of the most famous starter lines of any book. The Word was with God. You're thinking of John 1, but that we're going to play into that on the next study.
Started on John 1. I love John 1.
Mariah's favorite is John 1. She loves it. The waters in the dark before the light. It was good. And so you guys remember a lot of these things because Genesis 1 is structured in a specific way to help you remember things. And we'll go through that together. So let me show you a little bit about Mario. All right, so like I said earlier, Super Mario Bros. Had to introduce people not just to not just to Mario. It had to introduce them to video games as a whole. So achieving this duality of teaching people how to play a game and keeping their interest as they play throughout it is a core design principle of Nintendo. And you can see it throughout their most recent titles. They teach you a small little thing, and then they'll expand upon it in the next level, and expand, and then at the end of the game, you're a master at the theme or the topic. So my 4-year-old learned his first Mario with Mario 3D World. He started on that first level, just jumping up and down some boxes, and because of the way they designed their levels, he was actually able to make it to World 8 and fight Bowser almost completely by himself.
Sort of.
Yeah.
Help.
Well, I mean, he used assist mode, but he's 4. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
All right, so in Mario Brothers, given the tight limitation on the game, because it was only 8 bits and there wasn't a whole lot you could do, a lot of clever decisions had to be made about the game appealing to a generation. And it teaches you a very great tutorial on how to play games without using any text and without asking you to read a manual. There's no 2-hour cutscenes or anything else like that. And most of the teaching is done on the opening screen. So before I tell you guys about it, I want you guys to look at this screen and tell me what jumps out to you just about this opening screen. What is the game teaching us without saying anything? Yeah, I think my chat missed it. Character's name, no money, foreground and background elements. Mario. Okay, yeah, that's important. There's different worlds and levels, and what world we're in, how much time we have, and how bad the graphics look. All right, so the old Duke picked up on something I want to pick up on. So you notice Mario is standing over top of Green Hill. Now, picture you're someone who doesn't play video games. How do you know you're not supposed to jump over that hill or the grass that you're about to come up on ahead of you? Well, you notice Mario is standing on the left side over the grassy hill. So immediately you understand there's a background, there's a foreground. And if you play a lot of Mario games, is there something odd about where Mario is at this current moment? Yeah. Toad in the background yelling at you not to step on the grass.
Yeah.
All right. Mario is always in the middle of the screen. Always. Whenever you're playing, he's always dead set center. And that's to help you figure out how to jump, and your brain intuitively knows to line up your jumps with the screen. You don't even realize it. But he's on the left side. So there's the reason for this. Nintendo wants you to understand that for all Mario games, you're going to the right. And that sounds really dumb, but how do you know not to go left? If you hand this to your grandma or a little kid, they just start going right because they designed Mario to stay right there on the left and give you your goal. Go to the right. Um, let's see. Let's continue on. So in the very first screen, we're going to get a lot of new things. What do you guys see here? The question box is very bright and it's engaging, and it uses a little bit of color theory where they use yellow and flashing lights to get your attention. So on top of the large negative space in front of you, we're going to start heading to the right and head immediately to that question block. But just as we start approaching it on our own pace, something happens. We get our first enemy on the screen. How do you know it's an enemy? The angry eyes. It's always angry eyes.
Yeah, the eyebrows.
It's also the very first thing that starts moving towards you, right? You got angry eyebrows approaching you. Imagine if they had designed the game where the Goombas start walking at you. You may not even know the jump. And Nintendo knows that you're new to the video games. You may not know how to jump. And so this is the first lesson. As you run into the Goomba, if you run into them, you die. You start over. That'll teach you, hey, there's bad guys. Don't run into them. But most importantly, they're going to make sure that you press the A button and you learn how to jump. Because if you don't know how to jump, you can't get over the pipes. You can't go over anything. And so they're teaching you how to jump without telling you with a big flashing thing, hey, press A to jump over enemy. They let you figure it out on your own. But that leads into the next thing. What is immediately above the Goomba's head? Does anybody know? The mushroom. Now, when you play the game, the mushroom's not there. It's hidden inside the block. So you'll run to the right, and you'll try to jump over the Goomba. They put that block right over the Goomba, knowing you're going to jump, so that you hit it with your head. And then out pops the mushroom. Now, the mushroom does a couple of things it's going to teach you about Mario without the tutorial. So first it's going to start moving to the right, which is what you're doing. And it moves kind of slowly. It makes you want to chase it. But maybe you ran into the Goomba and you died and you decided mushroom-shaped stuff is bad. I don't like those. The mushroom is going to fall and hit that pipe, and it's going to move right to where you are, because you'll probably be right where the Goomba is. So even if you try to avoid the mushroom, the path you're going to take to try to get away is going to lead you right into the mushroom's path. So Nintendo knows that you're probably trapped in this corner. You probably just learned how to jump. You're probably going to jump to try to avoid the mushroom, but oh, there's a block in your way. And you hit the mushroom, and now you go bigger. So in just the first screen of the game, you have learned enemies. You've learned how to jump. You understand the difference between the background and the foreground. You understand you can collect coins. You know how mushrooms work. You know all of this, and it's only been 10, 15 seconds. And Nintendo is going to keep doing this over and over throughout the level. I don't know how much time we'll have, so I'm not going to go over the whole level with you guys. But I can send, if everybody's interested, I can send them a link to a game design video where I got this idea from. And I encourage you to go play Mario Brothers 1 on your own and just see how it's teaching you everything you're going to need to know for the rest of the game. And Nintendo did all of this without a manual. That they let you figure it out on your own. They gave you autonomy. God does this a lot with us as well. So I want us to look at Genesis 1, and as we go through it, let's start looking for patterns and let's say, hey, why is this here? Why was it set up this way? Just like we see Mario on the left side of the screen, why is he there? Why are the blocks positioned like that? What are they trying to teach me? And everything in the Bible, every single word is trying to teach you something. And so if you read Genesis 1, it's going to set up design patterns, it's going to set up lessons for you to take for the rest of the Bible. So let's see how it does it. If anybody wants to volunteer, they can read this. If not, I'll read it in just a second.
In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth was formless and void. The darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the surface of the waters.
I love the way the tone sets up there. It's very ominous right off the bat.
Yeah.
You don't know what's about to happen. And we get our most important statement right off the bat. The earth is formless and void, so we have a problem that God is ready to fix, and he's hovering over the waters. We're going to stop right there, and we're going to cycle right back to it. When we read a book of the Bible, it's always important to remember what are we reading, because it's going to set up the context for how we read it. So when we played Mario 1-1, does anybody know kind of what genre of game that we're playing? Platformer, side scroller. Yes, so that's very important. Now, intuitively, you're going to pick up Mario platformer. You're not even going to think about it. You're just going to start moving right and jumping. When I hand my son something that plays like Mario 3D World or a Sonic game, he already knows if it's a racing game. He already knows if it's a platformer, and that informs the way he needs to use his controls. And he knows this intuitively. And we should know this intuitively when we read something. If we're reading a song or poetry, we're going to expect exaggeration. If we're reading history, we're going to expect it to be literal, so forth and so forth. So does anybody know what the genre of Genesis is? Creative? Yeah, the first chapter is definitely creative.
History and Torah.
Yeah, so it's part of the Torah, the first 5 books of the Bible, and it's history. So technically, if you want to be real geeky about it, it's structured historical narrative or prose narrative. And if you want to know an example of that, First and Second Samuel and First and Second Kings is the same genre. So when we go read First and Second Samuel and read about the adventures of David and Goliath and First and Second Kings, and we read about the progression of kings, we read about Israel's history, we know they're real events. And sometimes there might be some symbolism mixed in, but we know David did kill Goliath. It's not just a metaphor. There was a guy named Goliath, and so Genesis is going to be the same way. There may be some symbolism, there may be some literary styles to it, but we're going to know in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. It's not a metaphor. We're not trying to teach like some psychiatric thing. It's history. All right, so we should approach Genesis as a purposeful account of real events. It's not poetry, it's not myth, it's not allegory. All right, so let's keep going here. We also need to know some context. Can I get someone to read this verse right here?
Okay.
I'm happy to, but I don't know what verse it is.
Oh,
I'm not sure.
my bad.
Just say context. Dang it. You got away with that.
Need some context. Yeah.
Then God said, "Let us make man in our image, according to our likeness, so that they will have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the sky, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth."
All right, so put yourself in the mind of someone who's never read the Bible before. How do we know that this verse isn't teaching that God is just one of many gods that made man? Because God said, let us make man in our own image. So how do we know that that's not what this is teaching?
Thinking that.
Our image? Yeah, he's saying in my image. Right, because of the very first verse of the Bible, right? In the beginning, God, singular. And if you go read the next verse, it's going to make everything singular. And God made them in his image. In the image of God, he created them. There was no angels involved, there was no other gods. But we only know that because of context. We need to be very careful when we do Bible studies that never, ever just read one verse. And I'm sure you guys can think of many verses like that where people take one verse and they read it and they bring out some weird theology out of it because they completely butcher the book it's in, the context that it's in. So we need to make sure we keep the whole context in mind. So throughout Genesis 1, it's very clear there's one creator. He's speaking, acting, he's blessing. He's the only one making everything step by step, day by day. And the next verse tells us that God alone made it. And you don't have to have everything memorized. Just like how most games come with a tutorial or a guide of how to play, most Bibles have a study or an introduction to the book that's going to tell you what the context is if there's anything you need to know. So like if it'll tell you about the church Paul is writing to, it'll tell you about what time zone the Israelites are in. Are they in exile? They're out of exile. Do they have kings? Do they have no kings? What's going on? So think of them as your level briefing before you jump in. All right, so we're going to go back to Genesis 1:1 again. We got our context. We know what we're reading. We'll start with those 2 steps, and you'll avoid a lot of false teachings and confusion when you study your Bible. So looking again at verses 1 and 2, it says the earth and land was formless and void, or more literally, it's unordered and uninhabited. And a few of you might have different translations on that, but it's the same general idea that there's something here. It's not special. It doesn't have any purpose. There's nothing really great about it. And the next line is an image to say the same thing in a different way. Darkness is over the surface of the deep. So they're trying to get you to imagine a dark, chaotic ocean. And this was common in old myths. If you think of like Greek myths, like primordial chaos, this was an idea of a non-reality that precedes creation. So it's a dark, formless ocean. There's no boundaries. There's no light. There's no life. But in that chaos, God's spirit, or as I think it's pronounced ruach, is already there. It's a Hebrew word. It means wind, breath, or spirit. So you can't see it, but in the chaos, God's always ready to act. And these verses have given us our problem. The world is empty, it's aimless, and God is ready. So we're gonna that sets the tone, and we're ready for what comes next. I'm gonna have people read the next few sections with me. We're gonna go over the next day, free for 13, and we're gonna look about how it's part of a pattern. And when you read your Bible, always pay attention to how the author is structuring it the way he does. I started this presentation telling you about Mario Brothers' first screen and how every choice is deliberate and it serves a purpose. So let's think about that as we read the next section. And a good example of this is like sometimes I have a favorite level that I love to play. I remember it was Metroid Prime that first got me into game design. I looked at it and I'd be like, I remember thinking to myself, why am I so scared of this hallway and this space pirate? I've been terrified for it for 6 months now because I'm 6 years old playing this. And then on my second playthrough of the game, I went back and I analyzed. They set it up to where I was really cramped. They played really scary music right before. They introduced something I've never seen before. I've never seen an invisible enemy attack me from a corner. And so they do all these designs on purpose to get you to realize, hey, we're in the serious part of the game now. You're going to need to be on your toes. So, as we read the next section, I'm asking you guys, analyze it with me. How are the things organized? And I want you to look for key phrases or repetitions. What things are going to keep showing up? If someone's willing to, go ahead and read this for me.
I can take this one.
Okay.
And the earth was formless and void, and darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the surface of the waters. Then God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. And God saw that the light was good, and God separated the light from the darkness. And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And there was evening, and there was morning, one day.
Awesome. All right. Now, if you want to continue on, we're going to go through days 2 and 3 as well.
Okay. Then God said, "Let there be an expanse in the midst of the waters, and let it separate the waters from the waters." So God made the expanse and separated the waters which were below the expanse from the waters which were above the expanse. And it was so. And God called the expanse heaven. And there was evening and there was morning, a second day. Then God said, "Let the waters below the heavens be gathered into one place, and let the dry land appear." And it was so. And God called the dry land earth, and the gathering of the waters he called seas. And God saw that it was good. Then God said, "Let the earth sprout vegetation, plants yielding seed, and fruits on the earth bearing fruit after their kind, with seed in them." And it was so. And the earth brought forth vegetation, plants yielding seed after their kind, and trees bearing fruit with seed in them after their kind. And God saw that it was good. And there was evening and there was morning, a third day.
All right, thank you so much for reading this. You have a really good reading voice when you read it. Like you got the enunciation there. I get it's really good. I appreciate it. All right, was everybody listening? What phrases and what things did you see?
What I noticed quite frequently in the very beginning, where light was referenced many times,
Hmm.
and then again, water was referenced many times. The word expanse was mentioned many times. Those are the ones that really stuck out to me the most that I saw that was in repetition.
Yeah, you're right. And if I don't have
And
a lot of
seed.
it in this study, but Bible Project has a lot of videos where they'll take the concept of water or the concept of light and they'll start with Genesis and they'll follow it all the way through. So yeah, the light's very important. Water, the expanse, and just for a fun thing, I never noticed before when I was studying for this, the expanse of him splitting the waters. It finally dawned on me that hey, that's like the Red Sea. Well, that's like some other times God splits waters like the Jordan River. I never paid attention to it before. Anybody else got anything? Okay. Thank you for letting us know. And he saw that it was good. Yeah, it's repeated. All right, let's see. I'm going to give you guys a few hints here. I broke my keyboard. There it is. Yeah, every day began with God said, and let it be. God saw that it was good. We saw each day ends with evening and morning the next day. We saw three realms have been brought into order. So he starts off with light, and we have day and night separated. So we have a concept of time coming in. The skies and the sea. He's split these chaos waters that we started our verse with. He's split the sea and he split the sky. The lands emerged from these waters. Now notice day 3 had a little bit different to it. there's a second thing that happened. Not just the land came out, but then after that, the land produced vegetation. So here's our patterns. These are our phrases. This is going to expect us to pay attention to these phrases because when it diverts from it or changes it, it matters. It matters a lot. And I'm going to ask you guys at the end of this if there's any little tidbits that you picked up that we didn't talk about. Anybody have any questions before I move on to the next few days? All right, Brian, I know you want to turn the read. Would you like to read this?
Yeah, I do. Okay.
Okay.
All right. All right. So then God said, "Let there be lights in the expanse of the heavens to separate the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years, and let them be for lights in the expanse of the heavens to give light on the earth." And it was so. So God made the two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night, and also the stars. And God placed them in the expanse of the heavens to give light on the earth, and to rule the day and the night, and to separate the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good. And there was evening, and there was morning, fourth day.
Fourth day. All right, before we finish out the last 3 days, what patterns did you see different or broken, or what are some things that stood out to you when we're reading this fourth day?
If I may enter in here.
Yeah.
So again, from what I see, 'cause I know everyone's kind of different when I'm looking at this. So it's looking like repetition yet again, referencing the light, as in the concept of time, day, night, etc. And now it's expanding on that time for seasons, days, years, etc.
Yeah.
In that light again is referenced to there's the sun, the moon, and then the stars. So there's more than one source of light now, instead of it just being day and night. That there's a specific type of light source to represent which time of day or night.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I've noticed that this goes back to day one, like you said. Day one, day two, day 2, day 3, day 4. There's a 3-day separation. I just noticed that day 1 and 4 are going to go together. Day 2 and 5 are going to go together. Day 3 and 6 are going to go together with that 3-day separation. 3-day pattern. I wonder what else in the Bible follows that same pattern. It's very interesting. Let me see what.
Here.
Oh yeah, I have the chat right here.
Smoky.
Okay. keep me humble. Yeah. So sun and moon. You mentioned that it's giving off light now. It's not just God Himself. I'm looking at the wrong slide here.
Yeah.
So He gives the greater light to rule the day and the lesser light to rule the night. Now, He's giving the sun and the moon and anything else they might represent the ability to with Him. So He's kind of sharing the rule of the galaxy. It's pretty cool, and He's going to do that again on day 6 as well. Let's see what else we got. People saying here. We got God's beginning to add some intricacies at this point. Yeah. The passage is given reasons for what He did. The others just recorded it without reason. That's interesting. I haven't thought about it that way. And he's telling us their purpose. Now he's something I've noticed, and I said this in the Faith Talk channel. I noticed when I read this that hang on, fourth day. Oh yeah, if we go back a slide on the 3rd day. Vegetation, plants, trees, seeds. We have a whole cycle of harvest and all that going on. And the sun hasn't even been made yet. I found that very interesting. So why is that? You can't be like, oh, the ancient people didn't know that the sun was very vital to plant life. Yes, they did. They weren't dumb. They farmed their whole lives. They knew the sun was very vital for that. So why on earth would God purposely make sure plants are made before sun. I don't know the answer. Just if you guys know, let me know.
That is interesting.
It's just something to pick up on.
I thought that maybe the reason being could be because, um, kind of like foretelling the future here in the Bible here. Maybe it's because that when man is created, that was supposed to be man's job to give him something to do, a sense of purpose. So if everything was already created and named beforehand, then what's man supposed to do?
That's true. It's an idea. To prove things can grow just with him. Yeah, God's not in a box. If he's in a box, he will break out of that box.
Yep.
That's just interesting. And every little design pattern is put there on purpose. He wants you to pick up on it and explore it. And if you take this and explore it throughout the Bible, you'll find things you never realized before. All right, let's read the next 2 days together, and then we'll talk more.
I can read for you.
Okay?
Then God said, "Let the waters swarm with swarms of living creatures, and let birds fly above the earth across the face of the expanse of the heavens." And God created the great sea monsters and every living creature that moves, with which the waters swarmed after their kind, and every winged bird after its kind. And God saw that it was good. Then God blessed them, saying, "Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the waters and the seas, and let the birds multiply on the earth." And there was evening, and there was morning, a fifth day.
Awesome. So he's giving his first blessing. He has his first command, be fruitful and multiply. And so life is supposed to spread. All right, let's hit the next one.
I can keep reading if you want.
Yeah, go ahead. We'll hit the next 2 days.
Yep, doesn't matter to me. I'm cool with it.
Okay.
Then God said, "Let the earth bring forth living creatures after their kind, cattle and creeping things, and beasts of the earth after their kind." And it was so. God made the beasts of the earth after their kind, and the cattle after their kind, and every creeping thing of the ground after its kind. And God saw that it was good. And then God said, "Let us make man in our image, according to our likeness, so that they will have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the sky, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth." And God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him. Male and female, he created him. God blessed them and said to them, "Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the earth and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the sky, and over every living thing that creeps on the earth." Then God said, "Behold, I have given to you every plant yielding seed that is on the surface of the earth, and every tree which has the fruit of the tree yielding its seed. It shall be food for you. And to every beast of the earth, and to every bird of the sky, and to everything that creeps on the earth, which has life, I have given every green plant for food." And it was so. And God saw all that he had made, and behold, it was very good. And there was evening, and there was morning, the sixth day.
Hey, thank you for reading all that. John in the chat is asking, what do we think about when atheists or skeptics bring up the problem of how the order of creation is unscientific? It's out of order. Like we were just talking about how plant life was around and functioning before the sun comes out. So, and yeah, that's his example he gave as well. We'll probably pick up a lot more on that after the study, but I think it's done on purpose. So something that people do a lot of times, they're stupid. So I was reading this article the other day where they're in Egypt, right? They're doing circular room, very tall, has a dome. It has little slits in the dome so you can see the sky. It rotates. Whatever could this be? It can't be a planetarium. It can't be anything to do with astrology. Egyptians didn't know astrology, and the person doing this excavation was talking about how they didn't know astrology till this time near, so it cannot be that. And they did more evacuations. and excavations, and they realized, oh, it really is to see the stars. They were calculating stars. Oh my gosh! It's like, well, duh. What else do you think it was? People saw the sky every night. You think they know what? So we try not to think of ancient people as dumb. They knew the plant cycle. They knew plants use sunlight to grow, because when we don't give it sunlight, it dies. To put two and two together. So one thing I want to say is, just when we read an ancient document like that, let's not jump to say, oh, they just don't know. Why is it out of order? I don't know all the answers. I'd also say we're believing a God can make a universe out of nothing, but we have a problem with him making plants. And I think that's crazy. That's kind of dumb to think that way. You'd be like, God can't do X, Y, Z, but you're okay.
Part of the sea, man.
He spoke and it was so.
Well, I'm not
Yeah.
saying he can't, but I'm saying there must be a logical reason behind it.
Right. Yeah, there is. What do you guys think? You guys have any ideas to add to that?
He eventually, when we get to heaven, he's gonna create a self-sustaining life where he's gonna be our ultimate source, right? Where we don't need anything else like food.
Right.
That's logical. Would that be sustainable for a atheist contention?
Potentially.
Eventually, in terms of
I would counter and say I don't think the Bible's a scientific book, and I don't mean that as a cop out to be like, oh, it's not a science book, it can say whatever. Obviously, if it says humans are blue and we're not blue, that's wrong. But there is a very structured poetry almost going on in this chapter. It seems to be more than meets the eye. I'm not saying that it's not literal, but like when he creates light on the first day, right? Where's the light coming from? It's coming from him, and this sets up this pattern of light and darkness that goes throughout the Bible, and we see in the Revelation. So let's see what you guys have in the chat here. There's some things we don't know. There's going to be so many mysteries until we get to heaven.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like the entire book of Revelations or prophecies.
Yeah. Some of it.
The world was not without light on day 3. It was just without a sun. That's true. There was light. God was the light.
I'm sure his light is enough to make those plants grow.
Yeah, that's a good point. So even though the plants are created before the sun, still light, so that could sustain life. And it was only a day. If you take the days literally, which admittedly not everybody does, they could have survived a single day without sun. No, I also take I do take the days literally as well. The earth didn't have rain till Noah and was trees. Is one idea.
Yeah.
God was the original miracle grower. Yep.
Yes. I love that.
So hey, let me ask you guys a question while we're on this topic. We're at a barbecue. Jesus is there flipping burgers with us because he's awesome. And I ask him, hey, the kids want to play on a tire swing. Can you make a tree for me in the backyard? And he says, sure. Let there be an oak tree. Boom, we got a full giant oak tree ready. How old is that oak tree? Anybody can, what do you guys think?
Yeah.
why are you asking this question? No one has an answer.
Why am I asking the question? Well, because when we're asking about scientifically, if we cut down that tree and we count the rings, scientifically, those rings are going to tell us it's 200 years old. But we just watched God make it. So, personally, and I'm not saying you have to agree with me, I'm not sure it matters a whole lot to try to sit here and be like, Jesus is a liar at the barbecue because the tree is 200 years old. If we're going to accept the premise that a deity exists that can make everything, I think he can make a tree.
I mean, how old was Adam when he was created? It wasn't 0.
Yeah, how old was Adam? Was he an adult? Was he a child?
25, 50.
So I agree with the Ashton Glow says, I agree with the we have an all-powerful God that can do anything. I strongly believe without the sun, they could grow. It'd be better to refer to it as growth cycles instead of years at that point.
Same idea though.
Would you guys say that's parallel with the atheist contention? How they say that the how God created the Earth age is like a deception.
Hmm. I could see him saying that. I heard a similar person say that they didn't believe in dinosaurs, and when they were asked about dinosaur bones, they're like, God made the dinosaur bones to see who would believe in him, not making them. So I almost don't want to agree with that because I wouldn't want to say God purposely is trying to deceive us.
I just don't see how he's being deceptive when he created Adam age.
Hmm. I don't know the answer
So
off the top of the
I find
bed.
that hard to counter argue. Oh, okay, no worries. I would love to talk to you guys more if you guys ever find out.
Yeah, so let's make that a point. See, I have these as 2-week sections, and I did that for a reason. I'm going to have you guys help me with the second session, but let's make that a thing to come back on and not just forget about it. And so let's say, hey, how do we talk to people that are not believers
Or atheist.
about
Yeah.
it not following science to a T?
Yeah.
So we'll make a point to write that down. Yeah, the God doesn't do things to deceive us, definitely. And the Bible is truth. We don't have to be scared of defending the Bible. It will defend itself, but it is our job to study it and know it very well. And it's good at the Bible and the New Testament that be ready for these answers. So we don't want to just say, oh well, they ain't going to believe anyways. No, let's figure out a way to answer it. So let's get back on topic here because we only got about 15 minutes. Can you guys look back on day 6 right here? What was different about day 6 compared to the last 5 days? What patterns have been broken or added to?
One thing that I noticed was that it says everything after of its own. So, like in this case, where it's talking about the fish of the sea, how the of each kind of its own, and the same thing like for vegetation, like there's its own seed, and then also seed after its kind as well. To what's the word? Basically, to specify or to indicate rather that there is like a generation, like there's the initial plant, and then there's the seed that creates plant for reproduction purposes, and then it's each after that as of like it's multiplying as God said so. So it's the cycle of life, if you will. And it's the same thing that's repeated for the birds of the air, the fish in the sea, the animals on the land, and even the vegetation itself. That there is the initial starting point, and then everything after that of its own kind.
Yeah, and I think the Ark Encounter picks up a lot of that with the answers in Genesis people, and they'll go really right into the kinds of animals and how all the different species evolve, and how the Bible had that before we came out with our model of that evolution tree. You know how we have the initial ancestor, the dog that turns into the coyote or the hyena. It seems to be hinted at right here, like you're saying. Anybody else pick up on anything?
Welcome to the study.
Yeah, thank you for joining. Previous day was the first command. This day is the first of giving authority and telling man to take dominion of God's creatures. Creation. Yeah, he's sharing the rule with us. We're supposed to rule it. Yeah, some people have a hard time listening to the Bible read. I do really good with videos. I don't know why. I'm glued to it, and I have a hard time reading it on my own because I'll pick up on a word and I'll just start skipping around it, and I don't even read the passage. All right, so some other things on day 6 that are different. God made humans explicitly male and female. Didn't specifically say that of all the animals, and that is generally true. There are exceptions in the animal world where something isn't quite male or female, or it transitions, like a clownfish does that. There's some jellyfish that do that. There's some plants that don't necessarily follow that. I think mammals mostly stick to the male and female thing, and a lot of trees do. You'll have the seed and the and the pollen and all of that. Now, God is talking to someone in here all of a sudden. He wasn't doing that before. Well, assuming he wasn't doing that before. Before it seemed like he was talking to himself, but now suddenly someone else is in this picture. What does that start to tell us? Without bringing in the rest of the Bible, let's just take Genesis on its own. What do you guys think it's trying to tell us?
People.
Sentience.
I love the Bible Project.
I love it too.
I love it.
It's a very good channel. If you guys haven't seen Bible Project, look it up. Sentience. See, got a couple people typing. Yeah, ask the question again. What did I just say? I just forgot it. Okay, it says in this verse right here.
Bible recap.
I'm sorry. Let's back up so you guys can see it. Verse 26 right there. We talked about this one earlier when we talked about how do we know God's talking to a whole bunch of gods. It says, then God said, let us make man in our own image. Us. Someone else is here. So without bringing in Revelation or John 1, the Bible, let's just focus on this chapter. What is the author trying to tell us about this us? Why is he suddenly talking to people? Before, each day has been, and God said, and we assume he's talking to himself. But then in verse 26, he's talking to someone here. What do you think?
Maybe he's. I think Super Street Cat was getting real on there. With talking about sentience. And to kind of hop on that same train. That it's referencing the spirit, as well as what a couple of people are also saying here in chat. That again, it's probably a reference later on in later chapters, but the concept of God having a messenger. So if there's someone that's creating something, is usually like an assistant in most cases, right? Because if you're doing too much, you're going to need to have something to, whether it's to make record of something or to duplicate or whatever it is that the author or creator needs. Then there have to be an assistant or someone there to make it happen, basically. So I think that's who the spirit is, because that same spirit that's in us, the same spirit that's throughout the rest of the Bible, obviously. And again, this is kind of talking about the future here, but that's kind of what I'm thinking, is like it's foreshadowing the spirit being in existence as a reference in the Bible.
Yeah. Now, a lot of Christians will take this and will use it to defend the Trinity. I think that's fine. But I think what we can have a danger of is reading the Bible backwards. So we have our doctrine of the Trinity from in the future of the Bible, and we want to bring that backwards. And that's great to do a Bible study. Like when you go read John 1, you'll go read about Jesus being in the beginning, and you'll come back and read this. But let's not do that now. Let's try to stay just like you just talked about. There's that concept of the messenger and the spirit. I think it's very good. I think it's a great thing to pick up on. A lot of old Jewish people, tradition used to say he was talking to angels here, because they would read Job and they knew angels were made before the earth was made. And so they were like, well, he's talking to someone. Maybe it's the angels. And that was the prominent view for a very long time, until about pretty much the New Testament time. Great role could have been Lucy. All right. Mariah tells me I'm running out of time here, so let me do. Let's get through this last day real quick, just in case some people gotta go. So on this day, is it possible he was talking to animals? I have never. That's an interesting idea. I'd say no, because he's already talking on day 1. And I think verse 26 leads us to see that he's been talking to someone this entire time. So to me, he's talking to himself or to the spirit or to a messenger. All right, and then, as we continue to read, what appeared initially collaborative, let us make man in his own image, is clarified, it is singular. And you can look at verse 27 for there. And another command has been given just like on the previous days. So like the animals, we have a command to be fruitful and multiply. However, unlike the animals, we rule and we control it. And all of the plants are animals of ours. So it's like player 2's been introduced. God's reigning in heaven. He's in ultimate control, and he's made these images on earth that are going to rule creation with him. It's pretty cool. All right. Did you guys notice the chapter ended right here? We're not done yet. We didn't completely solve everything. Well, I guess we did solve our initial problem. We had an unordered Earth. We created all these 3 different realms, and we populated it with people. And it just... But we don't usually end the creation account there. Usually we go into Genesis chapter 2. So we're going to read these last 3 verses. You want to read them, Brennan? Right, will you read the last 3 for us?
Okay. Thus the heavens and the earth were completed and all their hosts. And on the 7th day God completed his work which he had done. And he rested on the 7th day from all his work which he had done. Then God blessed the 7th day and sanctified it, because on it he rested from what God had created in making.
All right, so it might seem like day 6 was a strange place to end the creation account. I do want to remind you, chapter divisions and verse numbers, I wouldn't say they're inspired in the same way that the entire Bible's inspired. The chapter numbers and the verse numbers came way later, and they were used to help us study the Bible, and they would usually section off by a literary portion. There was always a reason they divide a chapter and a verse, and they're usually pretty good at getting it. So just remember when you're reading, like if you just started off on Genesis 2, you've lost your context. So always make sure to look back on the previous chapter, a few verses forward, a few verses back, so you don't lose your context. So I don't know the answer to this. Do you guys have any idea why day 1 through 6 were separated from day 7? Is there a reason for this?
Just a little recap.
I mean, I would probably say that Genesis chapter 1 talks more about the world's creation, showing showing God's hand shaping the universe. And then Genesis 2 starts with, God finishing his work of creation and taking a day of rest. So I think there's definitely a difference between creation and then rest. You need rest to support your creation. Artists, you need to, you can't just keep creating, otherwise you're going to burn out. But, and I think we always view it as like a week, which is why we're like, oh yeah, 7 days, like is a 1 week and, yada, yada, yada. But I do think it's really important that chapter 1 is focused on God as the creator. And then chapter 2 starts with him resting. And then, I'm kind of skipping ahead here, but like,
Yeah.
The beauty of rest and the importance of companionship. Like God rested in the garden with Adam and Eve. I don't know. I'm going a little ahead there.
No, you're right. You're right on it. No, you can, in a sense, days 1 and 6, they're kind of their own section, like you described, and day 7 is very different. We're about to talk about how different it is. So there's a good reason to separate it there. But technically, on a literary level, you'll have this. I don't have a picture. I wish I. You have a structure that's made, and it's found throughout the Bible, where you'll start with something on like sentence 1, and at the end of the section, we'll be concluding it. So in the beginning, God made the heavens and the earth, and then verse 1 here in Genesis 2 will conclude that. Thus, the heavens and the earth were completed. So we have our bread of a sandwich, right? And then you'll go one layer in, and there'll be a pattern that gets closer and closer to an end. So the end of the entire literary is actually right here. But that chapter division can teach us those lessons that you're talking about. And so maybe I'm wrong. Maybe chapter divisions are a little bit inspired. God
I
put them.
think that makes a lot of sense, because when you're looking at it in these first 3 verses here, as it's literally saying is that it's the work has been completed, it's finished. So there's no need for God to continue forth with creating and doing. It's already put in place for it to act on its own. The animals, on land and the sea and the air, they now have their purpose. God doesn't need to give them direction. They're able to do as they're created to be. Same, likewise for man, that when God created man, he intended it to have its own purpose. So all of the work was already done. And then having that rest, is there's that sanctification, that word there, is that it's meant to be set apart to reference the holiness about it, is that now the work is done. Now we can rest and celebrate and be glad that now everything is done. It's complete. And then perhaps maybe then likewise for us is that when we are finally complete, God can also rest and rejoice knowing that the work that He's created in us is finally complete.
I like that. Good connection. So we're already talking about it. What's different about day 7? Anybody pick up any things that deviate from the rest of the days? I would encourage you to have your Bible out if you don't already. Just look, what is different about day 7 in the literary? What was different? What's missing? So we've talked about a few already. Anybody got any more? Yeah, I promise we're almost done. All right, so some other differences I picked up on. It's very, very good. In Hebrew, when you want to say something's like the most awesome mega thing ever, you repeat it twice. And we're not just good. We're very good. We're close to perfection. Also, did you guys notice the day didn't end? There was no evening and there was no morning on day 7. Those are the lessons we kind of were already talking about. This day is blessed. It's different. It doesn't end. In fact, why did God rest? Was he tired? Did he need to take a nap? What do you guys think?
Probably was tired. That's a lot of work.
He's like, you ever hyper focus on something so much?
Well, rest.
See, I see some people typing. Give them a second.
Reflection. That's a good thing.
Why is yours faster than mine? I don't see all these things.
Have a better phone.
No, I don't get all these chats. Hang on, what are you guys saying here? I think the separation adds more emphasis on the resting.
Yeah.
The resting, okay. Yep. There's an emphasis on this to set it up. He wants to set up an example. Yes. We'll
Hey
see
guys,
that.
you there?
Hmm?
Yo,
I'm sorry?
after this game, I gotta go let my dog out. Or not my dog, but my girl's dog. Girl's parents' dog.
Okay. We're finishing up this Bible study, but see, probably reflections. Am I understanding you? Now, all these things are true. You guys are not wrong, but there's a deeper thing in it. So, and God has made the cosmos. He's made His world, and He's made the rest, and He's coming to dwell in the world. So, in the ancient Near East, when a deity rests, a deity would rest inside their temple once they've established their rule. Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, so it's a picture of something ancient people would have understood that, and I'm not
I
sure if
don't
you
know
guys.
how much health she has because I don't see a health bar, so.
You're talking to me, baby.
Yeah, I think they're
Anyway.
got someone else on the voice chat here. All right, I'm gonna skip that for now. We already talked about that. I guess I did that. So yeah, there is hang on, I'm sorry. I got my slides all messed up here. There's a temple structure in Genesis 1. I encourage you guys to go back and but usually when a deity makes a temple, they make their world, they make their temple, they place their idol in it or their image in it, and then the deity would rest in that temple or into their image. And so Genesis is using those ideas and they're changing it up and they're saying, hey, God doesn't just dwell in some building or some image. He made the world and we're his image. So there's a lot of stuff going on here. Now, I don't necessarily want to deep dive into this, but I just want you guys to see and go back and read Genesis 1 and use what we talk about and go look for those patterns. Go look for things we might have missed out on. Did anybody catch the number sevens as we read this?
I personally did not notice that, and that's a good catch there. I remember there being reference to it at one point, like one of the churches I went to, and it was as part of their message, because that it's the was it symbology or symbolic meaning behind it?
Yeah, numerology. 7 means complete, and so we're extra complete. 7 days, 7 announcements, 7, and you guys probably want to know the Hebrew, but there's 7 Hebrew words.
Right.
I'll send you guys a video in the discussion after this where it goes more into it. Here's some more things that you guys may or may not. Anybody catch day 2 being different?
Dedication structure, huh?
Yeah, that's what we talked about, the temple dedication structure. So maybe that answers our science question a little bit. Maybe the purpose wasn't to be, this is how God made atoms and here's how they interact with elements. Maybe we were taking something that people knew and we were playing on it. I'll give you an example. In Psalms to other deities, they would often say, Baal is the god that rides on the clouds. He is so powerful. Well, we'll take that in our Psalms and we'll switch out the word. No, Yahweh is the one that rides on the clouds. Our God is the one that does that. The Son of Man in Daniel chapter 7 is. They play on this idea that you already know, and they want to switch it around to make it about God. We do that all the time when we make parody of a popular song, and we'll make our own Christianized version. The Bible does that too. Some other things, humans are made last, but they were given the first or most important responsibility. We talked a little bit about why man is our image and what that. We didn't go full on to that, but I would encourage you guys to read Job 1 and Psalm 82 to get kind of an Old Testament kind of idea to it. And then we talked about how creation has moved from non-living, the light, the sky, and the land, to living, plants, animals, and humans. And we caught a bunch of word pairs and phrases, heaven and earth, day and night, male and female. So when you see these patterns, it's going to change how you read scripture because you're going to start picking them later. With these sevens, you want to pick up on Sabbath cycles, patterns of forgiveness, the lampstands in the temple, the seals in Revelation, how many times Jesus says something in the Gospels. It happens everywhere. And in game design, that happens too. So Mario Brothers uses a lot of color theory. I don't really have time to get into that a little bit. But throughout games and movies, you'll see how red usually signals danger. You'll see how green usually means safety or life. There's little things that once you learn it, once you see it everywhere. Yellow and orange is usually interactive. Hey, like the coins in Mario. So once you start to learn design language in regular life, you'll start to see it everywhere you go, and you'll start to realize you're being a little manipulated sometimes, like at McDonald's with the yellow and the red, making you hungry. So paying attention to Genesis 1 kind of helps us learn these patterns and learns design stuff that we can take forward into it. That was just I think that's all I got on my slides. There's one last one before we close out with prayer. Sorry guys, I messed up my screen. Just a second. So if you go back and look at Mario Brothers 1, I encourage you to play the level. And look at these questions as you go, and I'll post this in the chat as well. Look at the rising pipes. Why are they designed that way? And what is the game designer trying to teach us with those green pipes after that first screen? Why are the Goombas in there? And what do we learn from interacting with them? And also, if you're playing the game, go look at the very last pipe and go look at the section right before the first pit. There's secrets you've never seen before. So one thing I would like to ask you guys is the reason I set this up for 2 weeks at a time is I want to prepare and study and try to learn to give you guys a good presentation. But also, since we're talking about video games and we all, I'd like your help. So next week, I'm going to go into when the Bible references Genesis 1 and see how it will take what we already know and change it. So can you guys help me look for video games where they reference Super Mario Brothers 1, how they change it or how they reference it? What are they trying to do? Are they trying to make you feel nostalgic? Are they trying to pay a tribute? What do they do? Because the Bible's going to do that as well. Does anybody have any questions before we close out in prayer? Is that my crap?
Is anybody really good at math?
I'm terrible at math.
Yeah.
Questions here?
Okay.
All right. So just to recap, we are going to revisit the scientific question as well. I want to explore that in the Bible study chat that we have. And then if you guys can go and look for any references to Super Mario Brothers in any video game, post it in there and let me know, and I'll include it in the study next week or in 2 weeks. All right, so let me close this out in prayer, then we'll sign off. All right. Our Father, thank you for making us in your image and giving us the ability to imagine, design, and build. Just like we read about how you brought order into the help us use our own creativity for good, point back to you. Even in the things we just enjoy, like the games we play and the stories we take in. Help us to see your fingerprints and be reminded of the one who made us. Amen. Thank you guys for coming to my Bible study. I'm so excited to be going forward with this.
Yeah, thank you for leading the study.
Thank you.
This is awesome.
Thank you. This was interesting.
Yeah, thank you so much. This was great.
I appreciate you guys chiming in and reading the verses with me. And I don't know everything, so I'm always open to being corrected or seeing things I didn't see before.
Just to make a quick announcement for everyone that's still sticking around, to look for the announcement for Deadly Doe's Apex Ranked Grind. If you guys want to participate and check that out, see what they're up to. You'll get an announcement for that starting at 9:30 p.m. Central Time. But we all know, Dill, more than likely it's going to be close to about 10 because, we know how things happen.
I will be taking bets now.
Oh, wait, no, that was actually yesterday. My bad. But yeah, he does have a lot of streams and stuff that he got going on throughout the week. Definitely keep your eyes peeled for that. Tomorrow morning, actually, no, sorry, tomorrow afternoon, Captain Amy has her study at 4 p.m. Central Time, I believe, is when she runs it. To keep your eyes peeled for that. It's an awesome study. Oh, that's right. Yeah, the new Battlefield demo tonight. That's right. That's what it is. Thank you, Tony. Yeah, keep your eyes peeled. It's going to be a lot of fun this week. We got the brand new accountability prayer channel. If everyone hasn't noticed already, something really cool that we created for everyone. So that way, if you don't feel comfortable with having a public prayer, go in that channel and hit exclamation prayer, and it'll be send a private message directly to our prayer team and nobody else. And you have the option of either having them message you directly off site or just have them pray on your behalf for you.
Basically,
Yeah,
the
that's
way
what I
it
got for you.
works is you'll get a message from ME6, which is a bot with a Google form that you fill out, and you can request that people either that you leave it anonymous or that you can optionally put in your
Right.
Discord handle and they'll DM you directly.
Also, that we've noticed just random spam users that join this Discord to ask for money and stuff like that. It's going to happen quite frequently. Be on the lookout for that. If you see stuff like that, please let the mods know about it for sure. And if there's anyone, one of our team leaders, let them know about it as well. Then we can also kind of push the envelope and let the mods know. But definitely, they are the first people. They are our first line of defense, and they will make sure that stuff like that is not here. So if you get a random message by anyone saying they want some money or saying something nonsense or wanting to invite you to like their own Discord server, wherever it is, let us know about it.
Okay. Yeah, Felix is one guy that popped up today.
Yep, that's going to happen. And sometimes there may even be someone that's masquerading as someone that's already in existence on the server, and that has happened, I believe, twice now. Yeah, so keep on the lookout for that for sure, and let us know if you see it. You guys are awesome.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Ryan.
All right. End of study.
Bye. Thank you guys.